Hello. Hello there. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me for another week of reading. And here we are at what may be the last video for maybe ever, or maybe just a while. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm not fully closing the door, but we're definitely going to be taking a break for a while. So to start this video, I'd just like to thank you for having joined me for what's been nearly 8 months, 9 months, 8.5 months of reading. It's been such a pleasure doing this for you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed reading myself. But like I say, we may come back at some point, but we're definitely going to be taking a break for at least a month. And the reason for that is that I'm going away, which is quite exciting. So I'm in Edinburgh, as you may know, just coming to the end of the Fringe Festival, which has been fantastic. And I've come to the end of university, and I've decided quite madly that I'm going to walk back to my home in Sheffield, which is nuts. And that's going to take a month. So obviously I'm not going to be able to be having time to be recording these episodes, which is quite sad, but also quite exciting, and I'm quite looking forward to it. But I'm doing it for charity, which is another amazing thing. I might put the link in this description, or I might forget. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's very exciting. And yeah, I'll give you a little, as you may have noticed, we've got a stick here in the background. This is my walking stick, which I'm quite excited to be using. And it's actually our first story of this episode, is the story that the woman at the shop sold me in order to get me to buy this stick. I'm not sure whether it's true, but I loved it. So she told me that she owns a bit of land, and there's a tree on that land. And one day the tree got struck by lightning and half the tree fell down. And so from that half, she carved out these sticks. But what's amazing is that the other half of the tree is still growing and still living, apparently, according to her. And I just found that incredible, that it's sort of like, you know, the lightning struck staff from the living tree. Sounds mythical, sounds magical and epic. So it's going to be so exciting to use that stick while walking. It may fall down. It doesn't look very structurally sound at the moment. But yeah, so that's our first story. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but it's quite cool. Anyway, as you know, we've come to the end of Winnie the Pooh, and so now we're gonna do an episode of poetry, as we did at the end of Narnia. And I thought, as I'm going away, as I'm leaving Edinburgh and giving goodbyes, I thought I'd explore some poetry about goodbyes and about uncertainty. And there have been some absolute great ones, which I'm very excited to share with you guys. Anyway, ramble over. As you can tell, this might be a bit of a longer video, but as it's our last one, I thought, why not? So anyway, take some time out of your day, get a cup of tea or whatever you prefer, and we'll begin. For what may be the last time. So, last poetry episode, I believe we finished with a bit of Christina Rossetti. So I thought today we'd start with some. And obviously we're exploring goodbye poetry. And, you know, one of the most common goodbye poem themes you'll get is death. And the concept of death and what it means to, you know, cross that void. And of course, so many poets have talked about it, including Rossetti. And so I found two amazing, lovely little poems about death in this collection, and we're just going to have a little read. So this first one's not got a name, it's just called Song. When I'm dead, my dearest, sing no sad songs for me. Plant thou no roses at my head, nor shady cypress tree. Be the green grass above me with showers and dewdrops wet. And if thou wilt remember, and if thou wilt, forget. I shall not see the shadows, I shall not feel the rain, I shall not hear the nightingale sing on as if in pain. And dreaming through the twilight that doth not rise nor set, haply I may remember, and haply may forget. It's a lovely, simple little poem, but it's quite interesting in that sort of quite selfless, because it's obviously told from the perspective of someone who's dying or about to die, or is in fact dead, talking to the people mourning, being like, if you forget, it's all right, I'm dead. It doesn't affect me, carry on with your life. And it's sort of wanting the people who live on to continue having a happy life. It's just quite a lovely little poem. And this next one is quite similar as well, as you'll soon see. This one is called Remember. So here we go, Remember. Remember me when I am gone away, gone far away into that silent land, when you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I half turn to go, yet turning stay. Remember me when no more, day by day, you tell me of our future that you planned. Only remember me. You understand it'll be too late to counsel then or pray. Yet if you should forget me for a while, and afterwards remember, do not grieve. For if the darkness and corruption leave a vestige of the thoughts that once I had, better by far you should forget and smile, than that you should remember and be sad. It's another lovely little poem, isn't it? Of just this sort of, it's all right to forget, it's all right to move on, it's all right to continue your life once someone's gone. That rhymed. Maybe I should write poetry. But it's just, both of those poems, it's just, Christina Rossetti obviously had this fascination with the effect of death on those around the person that's died, as opposed to focusing on the dead person themselves. And it's just sort of like, when people leave, it sort of leaves a hole within you. And it's how do you cope with that hole? And Christina Rossetti talks about moving on and sort of forgetting and carrying on with the life you have, as opposed to not living any further because someone else is gone. It's beautiful, beautiful stuff. Anyway, that's the end of our Christina Rossetti stuff. She's my favourite, as you know. But there's quite a famous poem by quite a famous poet that we're going to read. I had it printed out, but I lost the printout, so I just sort of looked it up online and wrote it all down again. And it's a poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson, who I'm sure you've heard of, maybe The Charge of the Light Brigade you had to study in school. But this isn't that one. This is a poem called Crossing the Bar. And we'll have a little chat about it once we're done. Sunset, an evening star, and one clear call for me. And may there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. But such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full for sound and foam, when that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home. Twilight and evening bell, and after that, the dark. And may there be no sadness or farewell when I embark. For though from out our bourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. It's an amazing little poem. It's sort of got a sailing theme to it. It's all about sort of venturing out beyond the harbour, into the sea, into the unknown. And of course that's a metaphor for death. And like this, crossing the bar is crossing the threshold from life into death. And of course it's all sort of like, it takes an opposite tone of Christina Rossetti, where she's focused on the aftermath of those still alive. This is still on the focus of someone who's dying and making that journey. And it's quite an adventurous one. It's like, oh, I'm on an adventure, I've, like, one clear call for me, I've got to go. And it's such a hopeful poem of him going out into the unknown, into the boundless deep, as he calls it, but full of excitement and not of fear. And it's this beautiful last stanza. I'm just going to read it again. For though from out our bourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. And of course, the term my pilot is a reference to God and his hope and expectation that as he crosses this bar from life into death, he'll meet with God and be face to face with his pilot, the one who's steered his life. And that's an amazing metaphor, and it's just a fantastic poem. If you want to have a listen to it by someone better than me, there's a band called the Longest Johns, who are a sea shanty group, and they turned this into a song, and it's just beautiful. So I really recommend listening to it. So it's Crossing the Bar by the Longest Johns. Maybe listen to it on a music platform. It's really, really good, worth a listen. Anyway, we've covered the good poets. Now, as we did last time we did poetry, I'm going to be brave and I'm going to talk about some of my own poems. I've been doing a few more recently, so I hope they're not too bad. I hope you can cope with them. I did one about a whole Odyssey the other day, but I was like, that's too long. But I thought, as I'm turning to walk home, as I'm saying goodbye to Edinburgh, I thought, it's quite sad to be leaving people. So I thought I'd write a poem about what I'm excited to be returning home to. And of course, I'm from Sheffield, but I'm sort of like on the outskirts. So I've got green areas, fields and peaks and amazing things like that to return home to. And so I thought I'd write a poem about that. So this one's not got a name, but I do hope you enjoy it. A sea of green fields under an ocean-coloured sky. Waves upon waves of grass flutter fairly upon the breeze, the very same that shakes the towered Titan trees. Their roar colossal and bold, yet the wind itself is silent, working hard without a murmur, passing on without complaint. It's just a short little poem. But it's just sort of the feelings I get where I just sit in a field and watch the sort of world go by, and you see the wind roaring, but it's not actually the wind, it's just the trees. It's magical when you see it there. Anyway, might carry through some more. It's funny going through your poems, you can sort of track your life and see what was happening when you were writing them. So clearly with this one I was very cold. I'm not going to read it, it's quite a miserable one about being cold. Go on then, I'll read this one. I was thinking I wasn't going to, but this is a personal one for me, but I quite like it. The sky is blazed with amber glow, as blooming leaves gently flutter in the meandering and unobservant breeze. The sun is warm and the wind is subtle, as the closing dark faces June's rebuttal, refusing to relinquish its treasured day with simple ease. I sit in the midst and gladly smile, drinking the inescapable floral scent and turning to hear eternal birdsong. Here in the fields is where I spend my days, lost somewhere in time and summer haze, taking all that I can whilst the air is good and the days are long. That's a poem about, obviously, the countryside in summer. And it's just the colours you get in the evening when the sun sets in green fields. It's just magical. And it does sort of feel like time stops and you can just sort of rest in this magical moment. It's just lovely. Anyway, I'm going to read a couple more poems that I've written. And I should note, in case you haven't realised it by this point, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I believe that Jesus is the Son of God. I believe that he's my saviour. I believe that he's my salvation. And so a lot of my poems touch upon that. And you may have noticed in my selection of poems that I've taken from Tennyson and Rossetti in the past that they talk about God. Because it's a big part. It's a big part of my life. And so I was thinking about uncertainty and sort of going into the rest of my life after university, after this walk, not knowing what I'm going to do. It's quite frightening. And so I thought I'd go back to my security in God. And I wrote a poem about one of my favourite stories from the Bible, about the prodigal son, who you may have heard of in the past. And yeah, it's just sort of a poem from the perspective of the son going through the story. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. So it's called Prodigal. As I walk, I rehearse just what I will say. What excuse can I give? What price can I pay? I turned against heaven, great sin I have done. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. I remember the day we said our goodbyes. You gave me the money with tears in your eyes. I set out to spend it on life that was wild, but I failed to consider you'd lost your dear child. I gambled and spent on things that were wrong. Then, all of a sudden, the money was gone. And my friends all deserted, not one of them stayed. I was left all alone, and I was afraid. I was forced to work jobs which humbled my greed. I looked after men's pigs and envied their feed. But then I remembered the servants you owned, and how well you treat them. So now I head home. I walk and I wonder how to phrase my plea. I know that it's hopeless. I know he hates me. But far in the distance, so that I have to squint, I see a shape moving. I see a man sprint. It's my father running, and I'm hit with fear. What will he say to me when he sees me here? I go over my speech, prepared to atone, but he draws me in close and says, "Welcome home." Then he killed the best calf and put rings on my hand. Well, I'm left confused. I can't understand. "Father, listen," I say as I fall on my knee. "I'm not worthy. Please don't do this for me." He hugs me so firmly and says, "It's all right. I know what you've done, but there's no need for fright. For you are safely home, so now you can thrive. You once were lost, my son, but now you're alive." And now my heart softens. I cry tears of joy, for I'm with my father, and he's with his boy. I hold to him tightly as I boldly say, with him I'm safest, and with him I'll stay. Hope you didn't mind that. That's quite a personal poem for me. It was The Prodigal Son was one of the big moments of helping me come to faith and trust God with my life. If you're interested in the full story, if you look in the Bible in Luke chapter 15, it's an amazing, amazing story that Jesus tells his followers. And of course, I haven't covered all of it. There's a second part where there's the other brother who did stay in his perspective, and it's very interesting to read. So if you're interested, Luke 15. Anyway, we're going to finish now with a poem that I wrote at the very start of this year. It was as I was starting this YouTube series, being as you go back to the first video, I talk about how uncertain I am and how frightened I am of this year to come, and thus far it's actually been all right, but I was so scared, and so this was a poem I wrote to myself about being brave, and it's about things that we face in our lives that can be very scary and how we can be brave in facing them. Just have a cup of tea before we start. So it's called To Stand Before a Fall. To stand before a fall with legs so full of fear and take a leap of faith, that's a very brave thing, my dear. To stand before your parent and admit the wrong you've done, though scary, off your shoulders lifts a fear that weighed a ton. To stand before the girl you like and ask her out to dance, I'll have you know it's very brave to give yourself a chance. To stand before your future with your life ahead of you can be the biggest fear of all when you don't know what to do. But you'll find that it is easier when you trust, as I do too. God knows his plan and your purpose, and he's standing there with you. That poem has helped me a lot this year. In all those uncertain moments, facing scary times, just knowing God's with me is incredible. Anyway, I hope you don't mind me talking about my faith, but it's my channel. And it's the final video, so I hope you don't mind. Well, it's nearly time for me to leave, but before I do, I've got this little journal and it's a journal I'm going to take with me on this walk so I can record all my thoughts. Maybe write a few more poems, which would be quite exciting. Maybe we'll get a sequel to The Genie with 3 fishes. But just at the start, I've written a verse from the Bible that is going to help me get through this walk. And it's Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And that is a verse that's been with me for a while. It's been a verse that I've needed for today. Obviously, it's quite nerve-wracking talking about your faith to people watching your stuff. But I hope you don't mind. I've really appreciated talking about it for this final video. Like I say, I might be back at some point, but for now, this is the end. And as you can tell, I'm stalling because I don't want it to end. Excuse me. More than anything, it's because I've got to go on this walk, which is quite scary for me. But as we've talked about, we need to be brave. We need to face things as they come to us and trust that it's going to be all right. So I've finished my tea. I've got my stick. It has been an absolute joy spending this time with you. Thank you so much for joining me for however many episodes you have. Maybe you've been here since the start. Maybe this is your first one. But thank you so much for taking the time out to spend with me. I hope it's been helpful. I hope you've been able to take breaks and just relax in stressful days, listening to a story or listening to some poetry. I hope maybe you've been inspired to write a story or write some poems yourself. But no matter what, I'm so grateful for you spending the time with me. So until we meet again, bye bye.